Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I'm your host, Royce, and today we have some great news if you are an Xbox fan. There's some good stuff on the table here, and I can't wait to talk about it. So we're going to be talking about Nintendo signing that 10-year COD deal. We also have a deal from GeForce with Nvidia, and they're going to be placing all of Microsoft's games that are on PC on GeForce now. And to top it all off with a cherry on top, we have some more news revolving Gears of War 6. So, let's talk about it. If you like everything Xbox, then you're in the right place, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. And today, we have a lot here. It's a big chunk of news, and it's really cool. This is really got me excited just because this is what gaming is all about. This is what it's been about for the longest time, about bringing games to as many platforms as possible. And this wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Microsoft. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about bringing Call of Duty to not just Switch players, but also GeForce players. Over 150 million new people will be able to experience Call of Duty if this Activision Blizzard deal goes through. So let's see what they had to say about this Nintendo deal. Brad Smith is the guy that ended up posting this, but he said, "We've now signed a binding 10-year contract to bring Xbox games to Nintendo's gamers. This is just part of our commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms." Now, something that a lot of people were kind of dissecting was that he didn't say just Call of Duty, but Xbox games as well. Now, this has actually been debunked. I think he misspoke here. He just meant primarily Call of Duty, and he probably considered Call of Duty an Xbox game, which is why he said that. But they only have plans to bring Call of Duty to the Switch or to a Nintendo platform. Microsoft and Nintendo have now negotiated and signed a binding 10-year legal agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo players the same day as Xbox, with full feature and content parity, so they can experience Call of Duty just as Xbox and PlayStation gamers enjoy Call of Duty. We are committed to bringing long-term equal access to Call of Duty to other gaming platforms, bringing more choice to more players and more competition to the gaming market. So you're probably wondering, well, how are they able to sign this deal if they don't even own this yet? So there's a clause in there stating that once these parameters are met, then you can continue forward with this deal. So if this Activision Blizzard deal does go through, so what that means is that you're gonna be able to have Call of Duty on your Switch. And if Call of Duty can run on your phone, then Call of Duty can run on a Switch. It's pretty much that simple. I believe there's gonna be a team dedicated to porting over COD games over to the Nintendo platform. So I think this is awesome. This is going to access 117 million players, and this will be great for just to have more people play Call of Duty. This is not a bad thing. This can never be a bad thing. Bringing more games to more people is never a bad thing. But the Xbox fan in me kind of has a little bit of a little sore spot here, right? You could call me a selfish lover, but when this news comes out, I always think back to how it's always Xbox that has to bring their games to other platforms. It's never other platforms bringing their games to Xbox. And what I mean by that is you've seen it with Ori before on the Switch. Xbox had to go and it didn't have to, but it willingly gave the Ori series to the Switch platform. Now, in my opinion, that is a great idea because Ori is such a fantastic game, and the Switch is perfect for that type of game. So obviously they want to make more money, but this is also a deal that they have to like kind of better their relationship with Nintendo. So you're like, okay, well, what did Nintendo give back in order to like have like this deal go through? Well, nothing. Nintendo hasn't given anything. Nintendo's not going to give anything, and it's kind of you know, a one-sided thing here. And I feel like that's a very common occurrence in the gaming industry when it comes down to Xbox is, what can you do for me, but I'm not going to do in return? So are we ever going to see a Kirby game? Are we ever going to see a Mario, a Zelda, a Pokemon game, Star Fox, Metroid, any of those games on Xbox? no, we're probably never going to see something like that, which is sad because, I mean, all those games are amazing. But the same goes for Sony. I mean, Sony keeps their games close to their chest, and they just don't want to give those games to anybody else. So it's just weird that Xbox is always trying to be the nice guy, giving Banjo-Kazooie, giving those rare games over. Like, I know it has history, but it's just kind of like, come on, can we get some stuff over here too? You know, I mean, we have no games, right? All right, but moving on to GeForce, right? So GeForce, so Nvidia has actually been one of the biggest opposers to this deal, but I think their tune might have changed a little bit because they have now signed an agreement with Microsoft to not just bring Call of Duty to GeForce Now, which is their streaming service, but to also bring all of Microsoft's PC games over to GeForce Now as well. So let's take a look at that. So this is again from Brad Smith sharing Phil Spencer's tweet. With today's agreements with Nvidia and Nintendo, we'll bring Call of Duty to 150 million new devices that will serve consumers and advance competition. Phil Spencer's tweet says, "We have signed a 10-year agreement with Nvidia that will allow GeForce Now players to stream Xbox PC games as well as Activision Blizzard PC titles, including COD, following the acquisition. We're committed to bringing more games to more people, however they choose to play." Again, this is another deal that is awesome news. This is just them continuing to bring games to other platforms. This is something that people were saying is not going to happen, but here we go. Here are binding contracts of this going on. This is huge news. This is something that, you know, the only people that think this is bad are people with hobbit feet. So don't listen to those people. Don't hang out with them. If your friend has hobbit feet, turn around and run away from them because they're probably not the smartest bunch. All right. So stop hanging out with those people. So this deal is really going to change the industry, right? Because they're giving their own competitor their games to play on their service. And now Nvidia is like supportive of this deal. So really the only people that are really against this deal are Sony and Google. And the reason why Google is against it is because Google is just an ass. There's a giant ass. And so they can't really get anything together here, and their own streaming service failed them. And so who are they going to blame? Not themselves, of course. They're going to blame Microsoft because they failed to provide a good enough component, a good enough competitor to Game Pass or xCloud. So this is really cool. GeForce Now is a great service, I've heard. I have never gotten into it, but I've heard nothing but great things. So this is really, really exciting news. There's a lot to unwrap today regarding these new deals, these 10-year deals, because this is such a great thing, and this would never have happened if it wasn't for this Activision Blizzard deal, because it's not just those 150 million new players that they're trying to achieve on Nintendo and GeForce Now combined. Nintendo has 117 million users, a little bit over that, and GeForce Now has 25 million users. And so combining that's around 150 million users. But you also have the fact that they're trying to bring these games over to Steam as well, the #1 marketplace on your PC. So those games have not really had a big staying power there. They've only been on Activision Blizzard's own storefront. So bringing that over to Steam allows for an even greater amount of people to access Call of Duty. And this is just a great deal. This is something that is awesome. This is something that they kept saying is not going to happen, that they're going to be making these things exclusive, and they are showing you that they're not doing that. And in fact, like, yes, they could be like, this is just a 10-year deal and you don't know what the market looks like in 10 years, but that's true. You don't know what the market looks like in 10 years. And I know that trying to think of what the market is in 10 years is pretty much just going to harm this even more, because again, 10 years from now, Microsoft might not even be making consoles. PlayStation might not even be making consoles. Like, these are things that can potentially happen. Now, I think that consoles are always going to be a thing, at least for another 15 to 20 years, in my opinion, because they are just a huge mainstay, and you can see how well these consoles are selling. And the fact that the internet services right now are still not sufficient enough to provide a good streaming service. Even if you have something like xCloud, you have to be near a good server, and you also have to have really good internet to kind of make it worthwhile. But you know, obviously 10 years from now it's going to change. So I think that all of this wouldn't have been possible without this deal, and this is just proof that Microsoft wants to bring these games to more players. Why do they want to bring them to more players? Because they want more money. That's the end of it's that simple. They don't want to make Call of Duty exclusive and then have people not end up going to Xbox because of it, and then you're just going to look stupid and you're going to lose a lot of money. That's not what they want. They want more people, they want more money, and they want it on more platforms as they can possibly place it on. So all that's really cool. Also, just to clarify with GeForce Now, because I feel like people think that maybe GeForce Now is like a Game Pass type service. It is not. So you have to pay for GeForce Now, and then all the games that you own are going to be able to be streamed through GeForce Now. So if you do want to play a Microsoft game on GeForce Now, you still have to purchase it, and you will still have to have the box and you'll still have to pay for the streaming service and stuff. So this isn't like a free thing. This isn't a Game Pass thing. It is just them putting on service and you being able to buy it. So that is all for the whole deal stuff today. And I kind of want to talk about the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the Gears of War news. So Gears of War 6 might have a brand new writer who is familiar with the series and is actually a part of writing my favorite Gears of War game, which is Gears of War 2. So let's see what they had to say about that. Globe World posted, Gears of War 2 writer and co-writer Joshua Ortega, known for Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Star Wars, is seemingly returning to Gears of War. And the reason why he knows this is because Joshua Ortega tweeted this himself, stating, once again, it's on. And he kind of had a retweet of his old Gears of War 2 little memoir of like what he did on the Gears of War 2 game, and as well as the universe that was involved. And someone pretty much said, hey, you're back with Gears? And he said, So obviously it seems like he's back. But this is a great thing. This is something that I feel like Gears of War 4 was kind of lacking, was a good direction, a good writer, fleshing out the world a little bit more. I know that they introduced a lot of new characters and they introduced a new enemy type, but my opinion was that what made Gears of War so good was the camaraderie, was the how really deep the story was, even though on the surface level of it, it was just a bro shooter. But if you dug down deeper, you would see the relationship between Delta Squad, and you'd see the relationship between Dom and Maria, and the introduction of someone like Ty. These are all very heavy elements in a game that kind of weigh down you emotionally and have an impact on the player. And I think that is what is important when it comes down to these Gears of War games, was because that's what Gears of War was always about. Was always about not really glorifying war, but showing you the true terrors behind it. And I think that this guy understands Gears of War better than anyone else that we've currently seen with the new coalition. So it'd be really interesting to see him come back and write Gears of War 6. Now, I don't know necessarily if this is a Gears of War 6 or a spin-off Gears of War game, but either way, having him back in the forefront, having him coming back to write is a huge deal, especially if you see his writing credits. I feel like his style, his direction with the writing really worked very well when it came down to Gears of War 2, because it is really very memorable because of pretty much everything that happened in the game. But what do you think? Do you think Gears of War should go back to a more horror type video game, because like what they did with Gears of War 1? I would also love that. I do love Gears of War 1 a lot. And I think that would be really interesting as well, to kind of go back to its horror elements. But what do you guys think in the comment section below? Are you guys excited to potentially be able to play Call of Duty on GeForce Now and your Switch? And do you guys think that Sony is still not going to sign the paperwork until the CMA and the EU have said that it is okay for Microsoft to acquire those studios? Or do you think they're going to wait until the FTC finally approves or disapproves of this? Thanks guys for stopping by. Thanks for dropping a subscribe if you subscribed. And I really appreciate you guys having comments in the comment section, because that's what I look forward to most in every single video. So please drop a comment. I'm lonely. All right. I want to talk about Hobbit feet. I do. Like, please just put something in the comments down there. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, Take it easy.